All right, welcome back to your Newsmax Daily for Tuesday, May the 28th, 2024. I'm not sure why, but people get really twisted up when I do that. When I say whatever the date is, then I get a lot of complaints on the Newsmax YouTube page, Rumble page, or on my Twitter at radio_Marino. It's the 22nd Tuesday of the year, the fourth and final Tuesday of the month already, and National Burger Day, which is a big deal, right? But I say this every year. It's a poorly placed event or ill-timed event on the calendar of made-up holidays. I mean, since it's made up, they can put it anywhere. You likely ate a burger or multiple burgers during the long Memorial Day weekend, and you're likely not feeling the burger today, right? Except there are plenty of burger deals at restaurants all across the country to be had, so, maybe you're up for the burger. I hope you had a wonderful and safe holiday weekend doing whatever you did and eating whatever you ate. As we get back to business on a Tuesday that feels like a Monday for most people, President Biden has no events scheduled on the White House calendar today, this after speaking at Arlington National Cemetery yesterday for the annual laying of the wreath ceremony. And as I said yesterday, such an emotional event, no matter how many times you've seen it. If you missed the Memorial Day edition of the Newsmax Daily, I encourage you to give it a listen because I covered most of the weekend happenings, including Donald Trump's speech to the Libertarians and his visit to the NASCAR race in Charlotte. I will give you a segment on that from former Acting Director of National Intelligence Ric Grenell in a moment, but there is a White House press briefing scheduled for this afternoon. I imagine John Kirby will be taking part to address questions on the Israel-Hamas war after a very active and deadly weekend in Gaza, putting more pressure on Israel. One of the big stories today, aside from the closing arguments getting underway in Donald Trump's New York criminal trial, is Nikki Haley's surprise visit to Israel yesterday. Newsmax Jerusalem correspondent Daniel Cohen was there and spoke with Haley.
Nikki Haley touching down here in the Jewish state for a diplomatic and a humanitarian visit just days after announcing she'll be voting for President Trump. Now, she's here showing solidarity, meeting with returned hostages of IDF soldiers as well who fought terrorists on October 7th and survivors of the massacre. The morning started at kibbutz near Oz, where terrorists murdered 46 people, including an American family of 6 with 3 children under the age of 7. Also, she visited the home of Kfir Bibas. That's the tiny baby that's still in Hamas captivity, the 1-year-old. After an extensive tour of the site of the Nova Music Festival site and the Gaza envelope with friend and Knesset Minister Danny Danon, Haley will be having meetings with other Israeli leaders and then heading to the Lebanese border. As an ambassador under Trump, Haley was and still is a staunch supporter of Israel. I want you to listen now to Haley's response. I got to ask her how she will help her former boss and presidential primary foe, President Trump, defeat President Biden in November. You did mention last week that you are voting for President Trump. Is your plan to fully endorse President Trump, or what will you do going forward to help his election campaign?
Right now, my focus is Israel. I gave my statement last week. That statement stands. I think that speaks for itself. And now my goal is to make sure that every American knows why we should care. We should care because Israel is fighting America's enemies. And that should be reason enough for us to do everything we can to support them.
On Sunday, Hamas launched the largest rocket barrage into central Israel in 4 months. Sirens blared across the Tel Aviv area, the surrounding suburbs.
So obviously this has a lot of people speculating on what's up, right? What is Haley angling for? Nobody goes to a war zone on Memorial Day just because they can. And you might say, well, she wasn't in Gaza, she wasn't in the war zone, but there were rockets launched into Tel Aviv on Sunday. And she visited the site of where this all started back on October 7th. Back to Daniel Cohen.
I can tell you, Emma, that Israelis are happy that Haley is here, like Secretary Pompeo, like Governor Huckabee, like Franklin Graham, right? But regarding the political implications going forward, this trip was not arranged by President Trump, but I am told he will be briefed on the conversations.
I like to call him Dapper Dan. Newsmax Jerusalem correspondent Daniel Cohen. Is he a sharp-dressed dude or what? Donald Trump has said there is no way that she would be his vice president. Even Don Jr. said on multiple occasions, and I'm sure I've played it on the Newsmax Daily, never Haley, right? There was speculation over the weekend, started, I believe, by radio host Lidia Curanaj, that Trump's former White House press secretary, Sarah Sanders, the governor of Arkansas, is now in the running for the VP position. If you still think Trump is going to select a woman, do you like Huckabee Sanders, or does she not have enough experience? So Trump spoke at the Libertarian convention on Saturday.
In the last year, I've been indicted by the government on 91 different things, so if I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now.
I'm sure you've heard all about it by now, and again, I had several cuts from the speech on yesterday's Newsmax Daily, as well as reaction from the newly named Libertarian candidate. Trump was booed on multiple occasions, but he didn't care. He forged ahead with his message. As I said earlier, this is former acting director of national intelligence and ambassador to Germany, Ric Grenell, on Newsline with Bianca de la Garza.
You know, he did sway some of the crowd there, though. Your reaction to Trump going there the first time they had another person? I know they tried to uninvite him at one point. The Libertarian head of the was like, no, we're going to have Trump come. We want him to speak. He really did make an appeal to get those voters because it's about winning.
Yeah, look, this is a historic moment where you have the Republican frontrunner about to be nominee going to another party's convention, the Libertarian Party. This is an extremely hostile crowd. Donald Trump wanted to make the case, and he made the case of how there are certain issues that he pushes that they should agree with, and certainly they would agree more with him than Joe Biden. He went into the lion's den, so to speak.
Yeah. This
was like a Daniel moment, and he spoke truth. And I was there. I was in the front row. And I saw all sorts of people, you know, some who were, imagine this, Bianca, some who started off booing and by the end were cheering on their feet. They understand what's at stake. I think Donald Trump was brilliant to do this. He's going to pick up so many libertarian votes because he presented the case to them. Imagine Joe Biden trying to go into another party's convention to talk about these issues. He could never do it. Donald Trump does this all the time.
And if you were busy all weekend, you know, doing Memorial Day weekend things, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. also spoke at the event. President Biden refused an invitation to speak. And here is what Ambassador Grenell had to say about the ongoing Israel-Hamas war and Iran.
What we know is that there's a war in Israel and in Gaza because Joe Biden funded Iran. Iran takes its money and sends it to these terror groups. You hear a lot of people call them proxies. But for regular people, you just need to understand is that what Iran does is take the money and they give it to people that want to cause problems, terrorists who cause war. And Hezbollah received money from Iran. Hamas received money from Iran. And Hamas is the one that went and launched this October 7th attack. What do we expect when we take the pressure off Iran? Other than war. And now what we see is the Biden administration telling our allies, hey, we've got an election in November. Let's not pressure Iran anymore because we've got to win Michigan. It's outrageous. It's un-American, and it's dangerous for our country.
Yeah, and then we had Rashida Tlaib speaking at the People's Conference for Palestine, and the wife there of the keynote speaker has connections to terrorists. Tell us about the dinner here, because you were on the ground with the folks there in Michigan and their sentiments. If Joe Biden thinks he can try to win these Arab votes, not working, and at the expense of our biggest ally in the Middle East, Israel, as you well know, Rick.
Well, the good news for President Trump and his team is that they're very consistent in their messaging. They're telling Jews, they're telling Catholics, they're telling evangelical Christians, and they're telling Arab Americans, including Arab Christians and Arab Muslims, the same message. And that message is pretty simple. One, you wouldn't have had a war in Israel and in Gaza if Donald Trump were president. You'd have more Arab-Israeli peace agreements because we know Donald Trump produced peace agreements. And the second point is what I was saying earlier. Don't give money to Iran. You will get war when you give money to Iran. Donald Trump squeezed Iran. Joe Biden is giving them money.
Again, that's former acting director of national intelligence and U.S. Ambassador Ric Grenell on Newsmax. Bianca de la Garza there mentioned Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. Two of your other favorite Democrat squad representatives, Cori Bush of Missouri and Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, were trolled on social media big time yesterday after they both posted Memorial Day messages that were more appropriate for Veterans Day than they were for Memorial Day, showing that they didn't really know or understand what Memorial Day was all about. Omar's message on X read as this: on hashtag Memorial Day, we honor the heroic men and women who served our country. We owe them more than our gratitude. They have more than earned access to quality mental health services, job opportunities, housing assistance, and the benefits that they were promised, unquote, as if those people were still alive. Bush's message was similar in nature and wording, but both were deleted and then later replaced with Memorial Day messages about those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Closing arguments are now underway in Donald Trump's New York criminal trial. When they are finished, prosecutors will have the opportunity for a rebuttal to the defense's arguments, and then the case will go to the jury. Newsmax host Lidia Curanaj breaks it down.
Had President Trump simply gone off golfing into the sunset, continued to enjoy his beautiful family, instead of running for the highest office in the land again, he wouldn't currently be facing 34 criminal charges for allegedly falsifying business records, which could put him behind bars for life. The alleged hush money payment by convicted liar Michael Cohen happened back in 2016. The porn actress Stormy Daniels claims the affair happened in 2006. So why did they wait until now to go after Trump? Why did the feds refuse to even take up the case? And why did radically left Democrat District Attorney Alvin Bragg take up the torch to attempt to eviscerate and destroy President Trump instead? With closing arguments set to happen tomorrow, analysts from all sides of the political spectrum say that the prosecution has thus far not proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Alvin Bragg's team was supposed to present some evidence of an underlying crime that Donald Trump allegedly tried to conceal or commit. There has been no evidence of a predicate crime.
I have yet to see a shred of evidence that Donald Trump has committed any crime.
And the irony of course, is that he hasn't committed any crime when the indictment that starts the whole case is supposed to outline a crime. And you read the indictment, and the indictment doesn't state what the crime is.
I just don't understand how this case has gotten to this point. You know, it does start to look like President Trump, who does tend to exaggerate occasionally, is right. This is election interference designed solely to keep him off the campaign trail.
Trump's attorney Will Scharf also said on my show Sunday Agenda yesterday that if anyone is a victim in this case, it's actually President Trump.
Look, we've been at this show trial for weeks and weeks now. The only crimes that have been proven in court are crimes committed against President Trump by people like Michael Cohen. There's absolutely no evidence that President Trump did anything wrong. I think any fair jury would swiftly acquit the president. Any fair judge would issue a directed verdict and dismiss this case altogether. It's absolutely outrageous.
So outrageous, the fact that Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, admitted on the stand that he stole $60,000 from the Trump organization. He was caught in multiple lies as well. Daniels got paid because it was give me money or else I talk, which could be construed as extortion. Then there was Cohen's former attorney, Robert Costello, who testified for the defense that Cohen repeatedly told him that Trump had nothing to do with the so-called $130,000 hush money payment. In any other state, with any other judge, we'd say case closed, right? Not guilty. But if anything has taught us in these past 6 weeks of this criminal trial, nothing is certain. Judge Juan Merchan treated Costello with contempt, clearing the courtroom several times. And it is this same judge who will be instrumental in determining whether or not Trump is found guilty. Judge Juan Merchan will be the one instructing the jury. He'll be giving them the legal roadmap for them to follow on how to interpret the law relevant to this case before they begin their deliberations. Will Trump hater attorney George Conway be right in his belief that Trump's only chance at an acquittal will be a hung jury?
But all the defense has to do is convince one juror to hang the group. I don't think they can get an acquittal. I don't think they're going to get 12 votes unanimously to acquit him. I think their best shot, and that's what they're going to do, is hope that there's just some person on the jury who just refuses to convict. But again, I think that's going to be really, really hard.
Really hard, but it's not impossible. I still believe in our justice system. I still believe in what Lady Justice stands for. I still have hope that there will be at least one person on that jury who will have the courage, the fortitude to do the right thing simply because it is right.
An optimistic Lidia Curanaj. For more on the jury, which will ultimately make a monumental and historic decision, this is attorney Gerard Filati, senior counsel with the Lawfare Project on National Report.
Gerard, but, we've talked so much about these jury instructions and what they will be told even before deliberations begin. Do we have any more clarity about Judge Merchan's ruling in those instructions?
Well, we know which direction he's leaning in. We know that we know that what we expect will be a setup for an appeal based on these instructions. Because remember, the closing arguments are really a chance for the prosecutors and for Trump's team to retell their story, to give their narrative. But then the jury hears what the judge has to say and how he defines what each side needs to prove or not prove. That is what that's the last thing the jury hears, and that's the thing that they go into the jury room talking about, those instructions. And what we know about these instructions is that they're highly contested. Trump's team rightfully is pointing out that there needs to be some element of willfulness, or there needs to be some clarity as to the felony charges, and there needs to be some understanding that something that's done for a personal reason doesn't necessarily become a campaign issue. But we're not sure that the judge is going to go that way. So that's the ultimate question. What those instructions are will shape what the jury says, but will also shape the appeal if Trump loses.
Attorney Gerard Filati on National Report with Emma Reckenberg. There will be plenty of coverage on Trump's trial again today. Don't forget, Stormy Daniels, the extortionist, owes Donald Trump more than $300,000 that a court had ordered her to pay when she lost the defamation case against the former president. Wall Street is back in business today after being closed yesterday in observance of the Memorial Day holiday. The markets opened well into the green this morning. That's the good news. There are some more earnings this week and a big inflation report. In fact, 2 inflation reports, I believe, Thursday and Friday, that the feds and everyone else will be paying close attention to because everyone's waiting to see when the feds are going to start cutting interest rates. And a lot of the Fed's decision is based on these various inflation reports. Make sure you keep up with all of the news all day long on Newsmax, beginning each and every day with Wake Up America. Newsmax is available on most major cable systems, as you know, and be sure you're streaming the new Newsmax Plus. If you're not, simply go to newsmaxplus.com, get signed up. You can also get a free trial. It includes all of your favorite shows and hosts. Greg Kelly Reports, Greta Van Susteren, Carl Higbee, Rob Schmidt, Tonight, The Balance with Eric Bolling, and more. Fantastic analysis from people like Ric Grenell, former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, Governor Mike Huckabee, Professor Alan Dershowitz, who I'm sure we'll be hearing from today, and more. NewsmaxPlus.com. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you for listening to the Newsmax Daily. Continue to share it with your friends and family. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.